Yo, what's going on?
Back Pew.
We got so much to talk about this week.
You know,
We can unpack like these conversations. You can see a pedicure.
You would do.
Depends on his feet.
That could be my own street.
what's up? What's up, Tam? We in person. We not back conversations.
Going on? This
The Tim and Tam talk. He be doing this stuff all the time. New here. Go ahead and click that follow, subscribe button, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We everywhere.
Yo, we everywhere. Like literally, we everywhere. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Back Pew Podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim.
And I am Tam. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing phenomenal.
Wait.
I'm doing great, sis. How about yourself?
See, now I can't say phenomenal like I want to.
Jay said I'm not a biter, but I'm a writer, right? That's what you say.
That's crazy. They out here stealing bars. That's crazy. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to a very, very live Back Pew Podcast. It is another Tuesday night, which means it is another Tuesday night full of topics that we're going to discuss. If you are freshly watching the show, go ahead and type in the comments where you're watching us from. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Can you go ahead and click that like button? Let us know that you're actually here. If you have not subscribed or followed us online, go ahead and click that subscribe or follow button and join the tribe because we got a lot to talk about. Tim said keep it light today, so we're gonna keep it light, right, Tim?
We're gonna keep it real light, and we really just I want to just second everything Tam said. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here, and definitely make sure that you are commenting below because hey, you guys are the engine that makes the Back Pew go. So thank you guys for being here. And Tam, I mean, I'm really ready to dive into a few things, and I truly believe that based off of like last week when we really got deep. I think this isn't as deep.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be short and sweet today. I didn't preach last week, so there's that. I kept my conversations between 10 and 2, like I was driving on my way to a destination. I didn't get in no traffic. It was great. So I'm definitely looking forward into diving into these topics. Tim, are you ready?
I think I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, guys. So the first topic that we have tonight is you can't take everybody with you, everyone with you. And I feel like it's a little light conversation, but I'm interested because when I told you I wanted to talk about this, you was like, yeah, we're going to talk about this one because it's timely. So I'm very much interested in your experience and eager to kind of share my thoughts here. But kind of why did you feel like this was going to be a good topic tonight?
I felt like this was a good topic because just based on my own personal life and experiences and things like that, where I currently am, I'm learning that through my ups and my downs, through triumphs, tribulations, through everything that I go through on a day-to-day basis, that you simply can't take everybody with you. It's just not possible, right? There are some people that you love that you hope that they can be on the journey with you and they could also bear the fruit of the labor like that you really are trying to put out for, prime example, for family, for example. Can't take all your family with you. You can't take everyone with you because not everybody's like-minded, in that same way. And so a lot of times what I think about even from my own personal life is that I'm a very positive person. Like I try to stay extremely positive no matter what the circumstance is. Now, of course, I'm human and I have my bad days, sometimes depressed days like we all feel. But overall, I'm a pretty positive person. And so there may be people in my circle or people that I know that may not be as positive, that always have something negative to say. And we know that from a biblical aspect, bad company corrupts good character.
Yeah.
So even then, while my moral standards are, try to stay high and my morale tries to stay high, evil communications can ultimately deteriorate those moral standards that you have for yourself, because sometimes that just gets very draining and you become weakened the more you hear negativity, right? And so that alone, when I really get around negative people and I start hearing like their mindsets on things where it's like a woe is me situation or always playing the victim in certain aspects of their life without really taking full accountability and responsibility, then I understand that's bad company corrupting good character. Because at that point now you want me to sit there and feel bad with you so that we can both sulk together and always have something negative to say, because ultimately that's what's going to happen. And so I try to walk with I try to walk wise with based on who I have in my circle, because my circle has gotten smaller and smaller the older I've gotten and the closer I've gotten to God and established my relationship with Him on a deeper level. You realize you really don't need to be around a lot of people all the time.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why. I've also had experiences of being around unequally yoked people too, where their influence is like you always are battling, your influence versus theirs, or your philosophies versus theirs, your thought process versus theirs. And it sometimes can turn into a toxic environment by having those conversations over and over. And even scripture warns us against being bound together with unbelievers. That's biblical. And so being bound together with unbelievers, that there's that influence that will always be an oil and water type of situation. And I know me personally, while I have nothing against unbelievers at all, but I also am at a different mindset. And so that's where I even know I'll look at what you indulge into and what you really like and the thing and how you really spend your time. Does that really align with my biblical from biblical values as well as like my own moral standards? So you got to really take a lot of those things into consideration. And that's what I try to do when it comes to knowing who can I take with me in this season. Like my wife and I have been blessed to start a new business. We've been blessed with a lot of great opportunities. Doors are opening as well. And for a fact that not everybody has your best intentions at heart. They just don't. And then it becomes more of, what can I get from that person, or what can I get from them, as opposed to truly being happy for you and just wanting to be there during, from all aspects of the journey and the process. And that's what you see too. You'll really see the people that when you were down, and then when you get up, like, are they still there? You know what I'm saying? They're going to be there when you're up, but when you're down, are those same people going to be there? And when they are there, it's like, oh yeah, I got a real one. But not everybody going to be there to be taken. It's not something that you should even do. And so that's where I would just recommend that people who try to look for the good in people, when that other person is sending all these different red flags, believe the red flags instead of trying to see the potential in people. And we've done that so many times. We see the potential. We see like that spark a little bit in somebody, but they haven't consistently shown that that's who they really are. So that's my take on it, Sam.
That's good. So I think I got two things I wanted to say around, like, you can't take everyone with you. And the first thing I will say is that when God is calling you to greater, hey girl, when God is calling you to greater, and when God reveals who you are, and the only way that we can understand who we are is by how close in proximity we are to the Father, right? He becomes a reflection, right? We were made in His image, and He starts to reveal those things to us. I think some of us have an inkling of knowing who we are in Him, but the closer we have a relationship with Him, He starts to reveal things about us that sometimes we didn't even know, right? And that means that your parents don't know. That means that your friends don't know, your siblings, your cousins, like nobody in community with you actually know what God created you for, except for God, and then you, once He reveals those things to you. And it's so difficult trying to convince people that have known you your whole life that you're not what they thought you should be. So when you are being called to be the person that God has called you to be, has created you to be, oftentimes God is showing you better. He's showing you more. He's revealing those things to you. And like anybody that has good nature, we want to pull people into the vision that God has given us. And oftentimes when we try to do that, first and foremost, they will bring forth doubt into what God has spoke very plainly and clearly into your life. And when they present doubt inside of whatever vision that God has given you, you start to question, well, was this really God? Or maybe I'm not as great as I thought I was. Or maybe God didn't call me to this. Or maybe God didn't say that. Maybe that was me. So sometimes those people, and I know sometimes they don't even mean to do it in the most negative way, Tim. They mean to do it like, girl, what you mean God told you to move to Dubai? Like, what you like?
Yeah.
You just want to go to Dubai. Like, so they'll start putting those down. And you're like, well, dang, maybe I do just want to go to Dubai. But really, sometimes we hear God very clearly, very plainly, and we get around the wrong people. And when we try to include them in the vision that God only gave you, they put doubt on your vision and you are no longer operating in faith. So not only do you miss out on your opportunity to move to Dubai to change your generations to come, but you miss out on God speaking to you because he can't even trust you with the words that he's giving you. That's the first thing. The second thing was when we try to take people with us, oftentimes they do not want to go.
That's a good
We
point.
have to understand that not everyone is going to be uncomfortable like you are. A lot of us are uncomfortable in spaces because God is drawing us away from those spaces. We've outgrown those spaces. We once we start to heal, once we start to clean ourselves up, we're no longer comfortable in those same environments that we used to be comfortable in. So like anybody, again, once you start operating and knowing better, you want better for not just you, but for those around you. Everybody want to take, I want to take somebody to heaven with me, but I have to realize some people frankly do not want to go. And if you are on assignment, if God is calling you to something, you know, like we've all been on planes. For most of us, we've all been on planes. There's a time and a destination. There is a boarding time and there's a departure time. And if you miss those, trying to drag somebody to the airport that don't want to go, they get there and they forgot their ID. They get there and they forgot their luggage. Oh, I'm missing my toothpaste. I'm missing like all of those things. You packed up ready to go because you know God has called you to go somewhere else, but you're too busy worried about them. Guess what? Not only are they going to miss the destination, but you, who God has called you to, you're going to miss the destination. And a lot of people have missed the destination. They've clearly heard from God. They understand that God has called them to a specific time, place, season, connection, opportunity, business, like all of those things, all of those visions that God is giving you, but you keep missing out on those things because you're trying to include these people into your vision when God said it specifically for you. He didn't add y'all in a group chat. Like he said, it specifically for you. So when it comes to like who we are as believers, we have to get it deep down inside of us that you simply cannot take everybody with you, because that thing where you're trying to draw people, like people will genuinely follow you. Like if people want to go, guess what? You don't have to beg them to go. They're going to be like, actually, I see what you're doing. I want some of what you got. You got some of Jesus. I want some of Jesus. You got some of this. I want some of that. Like people will genuinely follow you as long as you're operating how you need to operate. And the only way to draw people is, firstly, we talked about this, obedience is better than sacrifice. So we have to be obedient. So if we heard a clear word from God, we can't be like, oh, well, God, I didn't do it because I was trying to take my husband with me. Yeah. Oh, God, I couldn't do it because my wife told me no, that I can't operate in my gift and in my call. Like God is not going to hear those excuses. When God has clearly told you a word, it shouldn't be about anybody else, because then it becomes like, who's your idol? Who's your God at that point? So I just want to like reestablish like with like myself, like this is a word for me too, because I am guilty of wanting to take everybody with me, especially if I know God is doing something great. Like it can be, and it don't necessarily have to be you operating in your purpose. Sometimes it's like, there's a money-making opportunity. God has put it on your heart. Hey, go invest in that. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna get my family. Oh, it'd be great for all of my family to invest in this. And they were like, no, it sounds like a scam. So now you're not doing it. And then 10 months down the line, you see that this opportunity then blew up. Mm-hmm. And you missed out because you were trying to take people with you that didn't want to go. So we have to consider like who we have, like you said, like bad company does corrupt our good character, right? But it corrupts everything. Opportunity, purpose. It is like a plague, like it is poison if you allow yourself to be connected to the wrong people. But not only that, if you just have people, they might believe the same God you believe, but God didn't give them the same word. And sometimes you even have to leave those people where they're at. You gotta be like Moses. You just gotta go. I just gotta go do what God. It don't make sense. None of this makes sense. I know it sounds crazy for me to invest in cryptocurrency. It sounded crazy. What you mean? It's not a real coin. Like all of those things. It sounds crazy. But if you prayed about it and God has showed you a clear vision, sometimes it shouldn't be about no one else and what they want to do, what they say about it. You gotta go. You gotta do it. You gotta persevere. You gotta move. Anyway, that's what I got.
That was good. That was good. That was good. I want to throw it out there a little bit more, right? This is how I know when I could take somebody with me, okay? I know I could take somebody with me when that relationship, that companionship that I'm building with that person, it should strengthen my walk with Christ.
Yeah.
That's what it should do. Those are the type of people you want to take with you. And most likely because a main part of kingdom agenda for us as Christians is to make disciples and followers of Jesus Christ. That's our mission. That's our goal. And so they're walking in the same way. They're going the same way. I'm going to take people when we're going the same way. Those are the ones, but you see by their fruit, are they going in the same way? Is this person healing from past traumas? Are they going to counseling? Are they taking care of themselves? Are they following in the right direction? Like, what are they doing? Like, you'll see the fruit and you'll know that's a person that, man, I want to bring them with me. Like, it doesn't matter who wins first. And it doesn't matter who God blesses first. It's just a matter of, hey, I see how solid you are. You're solid for me. I'm solid for you, but not just from, external things or earthly things, but how I see how your spirit is, how I respond to you, how we respond to one another, how we can encourage one another. What's your prayer life like? Like, you see a person, and those are the type of people you want to take with you. Heck, those are the type of people you need to take with you because you're going to need each other at some point down the road. And that's how iron sharpens iron, because we're going in the same direction. So I just wanted to just add that you'll know by that friendship, relationship, companionship, if it's strengthening your bond, not only with them, but with God as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. How can two walk together unless they agree? So listen, when you got somebody on your side, on your team, I don't think there's nothing you can't do. It's me personally. But yeah, that's the kind, listen, piggybacking, that's also the kind of person you should be able to take with you on the journey. Somebody who understands the mission is not going to hinder you from getting to the mission. They know the assignment over your life and they can touch and agree with you. They can walk with you. Those are the types of people you want to take with you, because at some point you might get tired, even in the mission. That's the reality of it. We all I get tired. Some days I don't want to do trap Bibles. I don't want to unpack it all. I was doing Moses last week. I was like, man, this is long. This is a lot. Like, maybe I'll just do this part. Sometimes obedience is not always like glitz and glamour. It just simply is not. Sometimes you can get tired in your well-doing. Right. And Moses and Aaron, sometimes you need somebody to lift your arms up to be able to fight that battle, to go on that journey with and for you when you get tired. So yeah, that's really good. The abstract of it, Tim.
Appreciate it, Tam. Now I got a question for you though. Can you take me with you? Like, can bro go with you? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Can I take you with? Yeah, of course. What the heck? What the frick?
Allie, baby, you hear that? We on the team. We going with Tam. We going with hypergamy over here.
Like, we in there like a never mind. Never mind. I forgot. All right, so let's get into the next topic, which is being a disciple in today's culture. That isn't the elaborate way that you described it when you sent it to me. I just kind of shortened it. But Tim, this is your topic, so
I always got to start with my topic.
you have to start. Just tell me. I could, I don't mind talking. I don't mind talking, but yeah, like, what do you want to talk about for this one?
I really wanted to dive into being, a disciple of Christ in contemporary America, right? That's really what we're talking about here. And as far as you and I being a Black disciple of Christ in contemporary America.
I'm actually about to say Black Israel Hebrew.
No. You
Brother?
from you got Hebrew in you?
That's what they say, but I know for sure I am Native American. I am Chippewa and Blackfoot and Afro American.
Let's go. Let's go. Polka Nachuka or whatever. I was trying to mix a little Black in there, but no, like seriously, that's really what it's about, right? Like being a Black disciple of Christ in contemporary America. And honestly, Tam,
Yeah.
it involves navigating such a unique intersection of spiritual calling, number one. You got to have cultural identity as a Black disciple of Christ, and then also still facing societal challenges too, which is rooted in like such a rich biblical legacy and just ongoing struggles for justice as well. I mean, you see so many examples of that in the Bible. So that's a complex thing to do, is to be Black in America as a Black disciple, someone who follows Jesus Christ, who is trying to navigate through life and doing it the right way, and having, you have to be under control at all times as well. But there's a lot of contemporary challenges that we face. And, you think about like generations, right? It's been such a generational shift. I was eating dinner with my wife and daughter the other day, and we were talking about all the different generations, all the way from, silent generation all the way down. Now they have this new generation that just started this year. And like maybe if you watch it, put it in the chat, but it's like a new generation that just started this year. Because the one before was like Gen Z, right? Like your daughter's a Gen Z, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah, well,
I can't.
We had kind of like just had this conversation and stuff, but there's just been such a generational shift, right? You talk about like maybe like anywhere between 28 to like 30% of like Black Gen Zs, they identify, Tam, as religiously unaffiliated. You understand that? Like they're not even affiliated with, they're not Catholic, they're not Christian, they're not Baptist. They're Christian, but they might be Baptist, African Methodist, Episcopal, like is that how is that?
Episcopal.
Episcopal. Thank you. Protestant, like there's so, Jewish, like there's so many different affiliations religiously. Mm-hmm. And they don't even classify as it anymore, because there's so much tension between like traditional church culture now and then the modern society, modern social values. Because now there's like a lot of LGBTQ inclusion in the church and in the culture as well, right? Mm-hmm. So now you kind of have the bumping of the heads in today's culture where it's different.
How you feel about that?
About what?
LGBT inclusion in the church.
I mean, it's different. It's different. It's a different thing. I mean, I kind of look at it like, I like what Pastor Philip says. You could belong before you could believe. I'm not saying that, I mean, we don't want to shun people because of sin, because we all sin, right? But the truth needs to be told. It needs to be told, but it needs to be told all across the board. I don't think it's 100% fair to solely focus on that sin all the time when there's so many other sins that go unaddressed. And this is me being, and I'm a straight man, it's always fair that that's the only That's like the blackest of black holes that people want to condemn really, really quick without addressing the other stuff as well. So I just feel like that's the more inclusive thing to do, is to address all the sin and not just call one particular sin out, because that might be disgusting to you, or that may be vile and crazy to you. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you being on the pulpit preaching something, I'm pretty sure you didn't sin. So over, you know what I'm saying? So I think we all need to like not always put the huge focus on just that one thing, put it on everything. And that way we can address it all. I'm not saying you should be silent, or it needs to go underhanded, or it needs to go under the hood. I'm not saying it. No, this is why we have the Back Pew, to address it. You know what I'm saying? As a prime example. So we can address it, we can call it out, and we can heal. And I think that if we as two people who are on a podcast can do it, I don't see why a pastor who has way more influence than us can't go in and address those same things without necessarily condemning people.
I
mean, you throwing it back.
Wait, so what question? The question I asked, or are we talking about disciples and the culture? Because it's that.
Let me finish. I'll finish my piece, and then we can. Then we'll get into the two questions for you, right? And because yes, that is one thing we talk about. That's that. There's going to be that tension. Then you also have, really big too. What we've been seeing a lot of is, we have people who attend church, but then we'll turn to like African spiritual practices like hoodoo to reclaim cultural identity. And all the same time, you kind of rejecting church-based respectability politics in a sense. Because, I'm saying it from the standpoint, you will see a lot of people that will adopt those things, and word clearly states, no other gods will come before me. So you practicing all these other things, right in front of God, and claiming his name. And it's a tough thing to do. So those are just a couple of examples. I'm going to open the floor up to you, Tam, and just kind of ask you, being a disciple in today's culture, being who you are, and you have a personal experience with this because you are a true disciple. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put our business out here a little bit. But my co-host Tam has been celibate for now, I believe, 4 years at this point, right?
I don't know if it's been 4 years yet, but I've been abstinent, Tim, not celibate.
I'm sorry, y'all.
Abstinent. Yeah, definitely played the whole game of starting and stopping 12,000 times. And in this season of my life, I'm absolutely walking what I talk. And yeah, it's been great. And I would say just in today's culture, obviously that walk is in contrast to what the world accepts, to what the world expects as well. And I think the best way to be a disciple in today's culture is to actually walk what you talk. I think specifically within the Christian culture, we far, too many times have seen pastors and leaders and people of affluence and influence that behind closed doors, they are absolutely not living the life that they preach or sing about. And we should all be tired of that, right? We should all be tired of not being a representation of who Christ is. And as it relates to the culture, I'm a little bit different. Like, I don't mix the culture with Christ. I feel like we can't. I feel like there's a line that we have to draw as it relates to our faith. I feel like it's sacred. And I feel like the reason why we have so much dissension in the faith is because we've blurred the lines. We blurred it with gender identity. We blurred it with race. We blurred it with everything. All the things that separate us, we've allowed to be a melting pot of dissension as it relates to the gospel. And the gospel is all about unity and freedom and us being a part of the body and having a need of each other. And there's no separation in Christ Jesus. We're all one, both the Jew and the Gentile. We've all been grafted in. We're all equally the same. No male, no female. We're all one. And I think we forget that. And the problem with the church is that we have forgot that. And when we look at the Bible, I know we do a lot of protesting and we do a lot of advocating and we do a lot of fighting based on our race and based on this and based on that. But when we're looking in the Bible, all the wars were based on, are you on the Lord's side or not? Whose God are you actually serving? Every war. It was not like war over territory, like war over if you a black person or a white person, war over oil and gas, like all the things that we have wars over these days. It was literally like God's people versus not God's people. It was and it was very physical, but you could see the fights that we battle, the wars that we face, spiritual warfare in the Bible, black and white, point blank, period. But now we're having wars that have nothing to do with God, who's on God's side, because I just see wars of like demons on both sides, have nothing to do with God whatsoever. And oftentimes we're blanketing it as if it has God in it. We're hinting as if it has God in it. And within the Black church, we do that with everything. Within other churches, they do that. With slavery, they did that. Like all of the things that I see is wrong, we've done that. And for me, I don't buy into there being a culture of this culture, whatever. Like God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. That's like my full-fledged belief. And I know I might be an anomaly when I come, when I'm speaking about these things. It's like, if I'm going to put God into it, I can't talk about the culture. Like if I'm going to talk about the culture, I really can't. I can maybe talk about God a little bit, but I can't. I can't really. Like I have to separate them. Like people say, separate church and state. Like I have to separate them a little bit. I can advocate for Black people and what they've experienced the same way I could look at the children of Israel and what they experienced. But what they've experienced had everything to do with them being God's people, not because of simply the color of their skin. That wasn't the battle, but the battle was because they were God's people and they had rebelled against God. So it's just like, I don't know. I think there's a way to have this conversation. I think me being Black, I can relate as to why this culture does not want to subscribe to any religion, because sometimes all of it feels fake. And it feels fake because there's so many fake people. And it feels fake because people make religion politics, or they make race religion. Like it's just, there's so much distortion in the Bible that it's just like, I don't want to subscribe to the nonsense. If y'all beefing about all of this stuff, I would much rather not. And they are completely comfortable and fine for that. And I think it would be like, I would have a blinder on if I didn't quite understand that. Like, even as a Black person who understands Black people being enslaved and white people in that time and in that place kidnapping Black people and using the Bible, weaponizing the Bible, right? Like, I can understand why there is a sour taste in the mouth of Black people. I can understand that. But I also understand, like, if I have to go back to Bible, that was also a ploy of the enemy to get people to have disbelief, right? So I have to like always root it back to like, what does God say about this? And how does God feel about this? And were they actually operating as true believers, enslaving other people? And the only people that I know in the Bible to enslave others weren't believers of God. They were believers of God with the little g, right? So I think there's just like a way to have these conversations. And I feel like culturally, I kind of cringe a little bit. And I didn't used to feel this way, but the more that I get closer to God, the more it's hard to think about like culture when it comes to like my spiritual walk. Like I could say pro-Black, I'm pro-Black and Black this, Black that today. How is that progressing my soul? It's not. And then what, like how, And it's weird. And I'm very much a Black person. And it's just so weird because it's like, how do I be happy about my culture in a sense, right? How do I be happy about my culture and the things that people who look like me have accomplished? But at the same time, that's not what I'm here for. I just don't believe that God created me to be out here saying I'm Black and I'm proud all day. And how is that going to help somebody who's hurting, who's in mess? It doesn't. So I feel like there's a loud muzzle and it's over all of our ears and it's a distraction and it's confusion, and that is not of God. It's not. So no matter what color you are, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, yeah, other, whatever, all of these things are distortions. And the fact that there's so much hatred in this time, in this season, of the fact that DEI is being used as weaponized, like the fact that we're having all of these conversations by people that profess to be Christian, my heart is grieved. And I'm like, I feel like this is going to be a year where I'm just like, my heart grieves. And I cannot imagine what God feels about people that are distorting him to this. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I just said a lot of words, but I'm at a loss for words.
So I have a follow-up question for you. So when you think of being Black, a Black disciple in America, you're saying that you don't see the racial identities across as like intertwined. Like, for example, like you think about a dual identity, right? Being Black, as a Black disciple in America, last time I checked, being Christian and being Black are like intertwined in a sense, because you associate with who you worship with. Not saying that it's anything against those things. I'm just using that as an example. I'm just wanting to know, you don't differentiate the two because we're one body. Is that, I'm just kind of just playing devil's advocate with you.
Rephrase the question one more time for me.
Okay. I'm just pretty much wanting to know, because we talk about the culture, right? Mm-hmm. And you mentioned one body, like we're one body, and you said something about, you don't like understand, like when it comes to like saying, oh, I'm pro-Black.
Mm-hmm. I can't say it in the same breath of me like talking about God. Like if I'm advocating for somebody, sure. But when you're like, oh, you're a disciple, and then there's a culture, it's like you're mixing. To me, it's like mixing two different things to me personally. So it's not that I have blind eye to Black plight.
Right.
I don't have blind eye to Black plight. I just find it difficult because being a disciple isn't a secluded, siloed thing. Like when God called us to go and be disciples, what did he say? He said, go and preach the gospel to who? To all nations, to everybody. So if I keep that in my mind, I can't consider like, yeah, just make sure I preach it to people that look like me, or make sure that the way that I preach it matches the culture. Like I don't even consider that whatsoever. And specifically, case in point, Trap Bible, Urban Bible, right? I have white people, Black people, Asians, Hispanics, like all kinds of people who enjoy Trap Bible. We talked about the 8 people that were atheists, people that are believers, people that never pick up their Bible, people that pick up their Bible. Like it's a melting pot. And that's what heaven is going to be. It is going to be a melting pot. And as much as Like I hear Black people say, yeah, we're the chosen ones, and this heaven is, like whatever they're going to say, however they want to say it. At the end of the day, none of us know nothing. We don't know none of that stuff. All that God has given us the ability to know is what he wants us to know. And when it comes to us being disciples, the only charge that he gave us, not the charge that we want to give ourselves based on the color of our skin, the charge that he said was to go be a disciple to everybody. So that's the only thing that I consider. Like anything else is going to be based on how I feel, what makes me feel good, what sounds good, what's good for the culture, but what is good for God.
I get all of that. That makes a lot of sense. I really do. Like we're supposed to make disciples of Christ, and we're not supposed to look at race. We're not supposed to look at the color of your skin, all of those things. But we're still Black in America, and we have real life and real world experiences being a Black disciple in America.
So how does your effectiveness differ as it relates to being Black versus discipling for somebody who's a different race?
I don't think it's difficult so much in the sense that it's more difficult than any other race. I'm not necessarily saying that. But the question is, being a disciple in today's culture is not just about discipleship. It's about discipleship is like, in a sense, it's a calling and it's a title, right? But you still got to wear it being who you are, which is a Black disciple. But you're trying to live this life. I'm trying to break it down to a point where it's like we have to live this life as disciples in Christ in today's culture. What is that experience like? That's the main thing that you still have an experience. And people would definitely, who's listening, would probably be like, well, yeah, I definitely am going to disciple who I disciple. But at the same time, I have an experience of living this walk, which gives me a unique perception of the word of God from an experience, because, hey, there's situations in the Bible too, where people have faced, where you have to proclaim freedom because you are in shambles, or you are an oppressed people. And so there's examples of that in the Bible, and they still had to live and experience life in a particular kind of way. So that's like what I'm trying to ask is, yes, we are supposed to, be open and not look at ourselves any better or our experiences any better, but it's still an experience is all what I'm trying to get to. Crickets.
I don't know. What was the question? What was the question? Help me in the comments. Y'all watching.
As a sister.
Help me in the comments, because throw me a freaking bone here. Okay, as a sister, sorry.
No, you're good. What is it like? What is it like walking this walk as a sister, as a disciple? Like that's the title, who you are, but what's it like? What is it like walking this life in today's culture? That's really what I'm saying. I think we used a title that was just simple, like for us. What's it like? It's because it is different. It's different.
I don't know how it would.
Okay.
I think if you were to ask me what it's like to be a Black person in America, I could answer that question. I think if you were to ask me, like, what is it like to be a believer, it's two different answers for me, right? I don't merge them like that. I don't feel like I don't feel like being a Christian while also being Black changes what my response would be to like just being Black and non-Christian. I feel like my experience being in America with the faith doesn't affect like what it's like to walk in America. I would say walking in America, point blank period, is scary being a Black woman. I would say being a Black woman, you feel like even though your mouth is moving, no one is listening to you. That's what it feels like being a Black woman. Does that apply to my ministry? Maybe people don't hear me, one, because I'm a woman, point blank period. I don't know if my race plays any part into that. But it could, right? It very well could. But yeah, uniquely, obviously, I think Black plight is Black plight. It's a heck of a thing to experience, while also trying to maintain your faith. It is very difficult because sometimes you want to retaliate when things happen. Things often happen in Black America. Black Americans are always overlooked. Statistically, we are very much overlooked when you look at the DEI programs and who benefits the most. Black people are at the bottom of the list, even though Black people died and shed their blood for those programs, but yet we're the least to benefit. So I feel like, specifically as it relates to the culture, this is a whole nother topic that I'm about to throw in there. I think Black people should independently do things for Black people, point blank period. And the reason that Black people have not progressed in America because they've been so inclusive. And while other marginalized groups do things for their communities by them siloed, Black people have not. They've been very inclusive, and what we've seen throughout history statistically is that when they are inclusive, Black people are always at the bottom of the list, even though they've started those initiatives. So I think Black people need to switch their mindset, not necessarily be selfish, but actually be more sound in what their asks are, and stop feeling like the only way to move the needle is to include other people. When it comes to those things, these are just my things. And being Black, being Christian, I don't think holistically that it affects my walk. I do feel like when Black people have these things that they're experiencing, that I'm experiencing, that you are experiencing, I feel like people that are also believers should be on the same page as me. I do believe that. If you're a Christian, I need you to show up. I need you to touch and agree. I need you to walk with me as if this is the burden that you are also bearing, because we are supposed to bear each other's burdens, right? And when one group of people is the only person that's bearing not just their burdens, but other people's burdens, like the Black community has done, that doesn't show me that other communities are actually walking this thing out as far as their faith, like some Black people do it. So I do think some Black people are really, really walking this thing out. And when it comes to like the progression of where America is, it started in the Black church. If it had not been for the Black church, would we have desegregated schools? Would we have the ability to ride in the front of the bus? Would we have the ability to have equality groups and DEI and all of those things? Black people were the initiators of those things that a lot of marginalized communities are taking advantage of today. Better situations today, coming in, getting more benefits than Black people who have built this country. So yeah, there's a lot of conversation that needs to be had. Is it a conversation that everybody wants to hear? I don't know, Tim. I don't know. I feel like it turns people off. And when it comes to discipling, it is my hope that we build up a body of true believers who will have enough effectiveness. So whether you're Black, brown, yellow, pink, blue, that we won't be having these conversations anymore. The conversation would be now about soul salvation, and we can stop being distracted with everything the enemy throws at us to divide us. And I feel like it's just nothing but division. And like, how long are we going to operate in that space where we don't see the enemy for who he is?
Preach.
That's all I got. Sorry.
She said she was going to fire up her preaching today.
Listen, I tried not to. You kept trying to get me to talk.
No, that was good. That was good. And I agree, definitely to see what's going on with DEI for sure. We just know it's definitely just terrible for the people that fought before us. Just the different budget cuts that have already started to happen. We could go on and on about that. But it's just a lot of conflict right now with this DEI situation, and we're seeing it. We're getting blamed for it and all those things. So that's all I really have for the moment. We will dive into that. Definitely, we will have plenty of time to dive into that. But overall, we thank you guys so much for being here. What's popping with these? Like, do we have final thoughts coming up?
Actually, listen, if anybody is watching this show and you have your own questions, you want to hop on live with us. Tim told me this wasn't going to be a heavy day, but it feels heavy. Feel a little heavy. Feel a little heavy today.
Come on, preacher. That's you, preach.
I literally tried to be like, nope, nah. And you was like, no, but what about? Oh, sister, what about? If you guys have questions and you want to hop on the live, go ahead and leave a comment, or if you do see the link, go ahead and click on the link. Join us. You don't have to have the camera on. So if you got your bonnet on, or if you can get your hair cut, fellas, you can still join us. More than happy to have you guys to join the live. Ask us your questions. Tim is going to give you a very profound answer.
Right. Tam's going to be preaching till 6 a.m.
Listen to what I do. Disciple.
She gonna preach as much as she writing the next trap Bible story. So y'all gonna get ready. So let's get it. But no, we thank you guys so much for joining us. We're gonna get into some of these final thoughts while the questions may trickle down. So I'll go ahead and start with you, Tam. What are your final thoughts for tonight?
Final thoughts. You can't take everybody with you. Check your circle. You know who's around your circle. Sometimes people are not going to be able to go with you. People that just have a habit of discouraging you from where you're looking to go. So just be mindful of that in this season of your life and what God is calling you to, because it would be horrible if you miss another season of opportunity. It would be horrible if you miss another opportunity for God to pull out some things that he's birthed inside of you. So be okay not being okay that people don't want to go, right? The other part is just being a disciple in today's culture. My brother Tim asked me, what is it like being a Black woman and also trying to disciple out here on these mean streets? I would say, I don't know. I think it's difficult to disciple, point blank, period. It doesn't matter if you're Black or white. I think it's just difficult because this is a sinful generation. That's the reality of it. It's hard to have conversations with people that are comfortable in sin. And I think the color of my skin, I don't know if it sways people either way, but it's my hope that God gives me the ability to be able to speak words that are sweet as honey. So no matter what color you are, no matter what gender you are, your ears will be open, because it is my hope to only speak God's truth. And in speaking God's truth, I hope that people are set free. That's literally my goal from now until the day that I die. I don't have any other ulterior motives in that. I don't care what color you are, but I do care that you get your life right and your soul right with God. All right, Tim, what do you got?
Definitely second everything you said. A lot of what you said about, especially when it comes to not taking everybody with you. You definitely don't want to take everyone with you. Definitely check their fruit, and also continue to just walk upright, and continue to see the people who are unequally yoked in your own life. That's what I take from that. I actually do have a heart for being a Black man living this Christian life in today's American culture. I mean, it's a unique walk. I'm sure every race has, I'm sure, its own walk in their own way. But speaking just for myself, it's, you really you have like 3 different intersections that you have to disciple from, in my opinion. That's your faith, that's your racial identity, and that's social dynamics. And I think that they're all like pretty comprehensive when you think about how you can minister to people and how you're even received when those same things. I mean, we still live in the world, and we have to still have this this walk of faith that we are well received by all races and all people. But even still, there is that cultural heritage that I do see in it from the Black church, and I think it's cool. I think it's dope. So that's just my take on it. That's my final thoughts on it. I think it's cool, and overall, we are just going to have such an amazing season. It's such an amazing season, and we're going to talk about so many things, Tam, aren't we?
I just feel like today was a little hot seatish. It's just like a little hot seat.
Hot seat. We good. We good.
It is a little hot seat. It was a little hot seat because what? It's going to be a crazy season. Next week, we do have a very special guest joining us. So looking forward to that. If you guys are still blessing us with your presence right now and you have not clicked that like button, please click the like button. If you are not following or subscribed to the channel, go ahead and click follow or subscribe. We are here every Tuesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time. We may have more co-hosts coming on the show outside of our special guest too, Tim. So we'll talk about that. Like more to come. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Back Pew. We appreciate you guys for taking some time on your Tuesday night to join us in our conversations. Tim, what do you have? What else do you have for tonight?
It's been great, guys. We really thank you guys very, very much for being here at the Back Pew. It's been dope kicking it with my co-host, my girl, my sis Tam, and we've just had some great conversations. So nonetheless, please remember to like, share, subscribe, do what you do, like Tam said, because if you haven't yet, what are you doing? Come on. We everywhere, man. We in rotation every Tuesday, 8:30 Central, here on Facebook Live. Once again, I'm your co-host, Tim.
And I am Tam, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Peace.
Yo, what's going on?
The
Back Pew.
We got so much to talk about this week.
We
can unpack these conversations. You can see a pedicure.
You would do.
Depends on his feet.
That could be my street. What's up, Tam? We in person. We not Back Pew conversations.
What's going on? This is
the Tim and Tam talk. He be doing this stuff all the time. New here. Go ahead and click that follow, subscribe button, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We everywhere.
Yo, we everywhere. Like literally, we everywhere.